Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the sixth episode of Trade Talks. I go about as Medici FX, and in this episode, we've got a trader from the UK. His name is Tom Shaw. He's the co-founder of the Dark Horse FX. I'll leave all the links in the description for you guys to check him and his group out. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the live podcast with him, and I'll see you there. Hopefully you guys find this interesting and insightful. Hello guys and welcome to this podcast. So, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a guest from the UK. His name is Tom Shaw. He's the co-founder of Dark Horse FX. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate that you came. So, in essence, as we always start off these podcasts, I want to kind of just understand, how'd you get into trading? How was your journey of getting into this skill and business field, in a sense? Like, where did it all start for you?
Good question. Being quite frank with it, I'm not a trader in experience as such, so it wasn't something that I ever kind of set out to do. Right. So I'm now 34. When I was 21, I always wanted to have my own business. So right. I set a business up when I was 21 from my mum and dad's house, working out of a bedroom, and it was just myself, mobile phone, and a laptop, and then quickly grew that. So like 21 years old, and on month 5 of running the company, I'd hit £250,000 turnover in the 1 month. That was literally 4 weeks worth of trading, and it just flew, like insanely flew. Started running a business, things started going well.
Right.
Things then quickly I was learning what I was doing on the hop. So what my business was, I was working in the legal sector, law firms that were doing personal injury claims, like accidents in the UK. So if someone had had an accident and they wanted to make a claim, that law firm wanted to run that client's claim, so to speak. So what I was doing was I was almost like acting like a wholesaler. So I'd sit in the middle, find all these customers, and then I would pass them on to the law firm. So instead of the law firm doing their marketing online or social media, anything like that, I would go to them and say, okay, here's 500 customers this month. Just kind of deliver it to them. Okay. And then that was my business model. It was all sales.
So you were in a sense like a middleman for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
So I sat in the middle, put everything together, did all the legwork, and then gave the law firm this kind of end product.
Yeah.
And one of the law firms, which I started working with, probably 3 or 4 years into this journey, one of these law firms got bought out by a big PLC who were on the alternative investment market on the stock exchange.
Right.
So these guys got bought out, and their company was then worth £2 billion.
Wow. Okay.
Like English money. Yeah, it was insane. So that was how I first got into stocks, shares, and trading, because I was kind of working with this company each day. We were one of their biggest suppliers at the time, and they were on the stock exchange. So I was like, right, okay, I've kind of got a bit of an inside track as to what's going on with these guys. What's the stock market?
Right, yeah.
So I was like, what's the stock market? How are people making money? What goes on?
Right.
And that's how I first got into the whole trading side of things. But it wasn't Forex or crypto, which I'm doing now.
Right.
It was more buying the stock and holding it, or shorting the stock, looking for a bit of price action with certain patterns.
Right.
That's how I first got into it. And then Forex now, how did that come about? So I probably did the whole stocks and shares thing for a few years,
Was it
started
profitable
looking.
for you?
Yes and no. This was one of life's stupid lessons. So I was probably 24 at the time,
Right.
24, maybe early 25, and I bought into the company. I had £150,000, which
Right.
I'd saved up myself through the business. And at this point in time, if someone was to say that they didn't have the value of money, that would be me.
Right.
So I was like mega reckless with things. So I wasn't flying around throwing money about. I just didn't appreciate what money was, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Do you know, because I'd made so much at such a young age.
Absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
So, and I was still living at home as well with my
Right.
mum and dad. So I was paying like £50 a week. But
And
then,
you had enough money to like buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari already.
yeah, so this was the other stupid thing. So at 23, I was the youngest. So there's an area in the UK called Leeds, and they've got a Ferrari garage. I was the youngest person that they'd ever approved finance for
Wow.
when I got my first Ferrari. So I had that, and then saved up £150,000
Right.
in cash in my bank. Didn't do the smart thing, like put any away, or buy a house, or be safe. Put 150 grand into this PLC
Right.
and turned the 150 into just below 500,000, maybe 6 to 12 months maximum. I was literally just holding. And then what my plan was, I kind of bought this stock at maybe 15 pence.
Right.
And what was meant to happen is they were meant to get approved to get on the FTSE 250.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they'd have gone on the FTSE 250, the stock price would have been worth around about £1. So I set a target of 50p.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, don't chase the ace. If we can get this to 50p, I'd have made 600, give or take 600,000.
Right. Right.
Which sounds fucking crazy the way I'm saying it now. But then I got it to just below 500,000, and it was about 40 pence, low 40s, 41, 42.
Right.
And the whole thing fell apart. The
Oh.
whole thing fell apart so quick. So it turned out that this company, who they were called Quindel,
Right.
big famous fraud now.
Oh.
They were doing a lot of fraudulent kind of revenue recognition. So they were releasing to the markets they were making so much money, but the
Right.
fact is they weren't. It was all kind of into profit and into revenue between their companies
Mm.
that they were billing as separate.
Right.
So it crashed.
Wow.
So overnight it went from being like 40s down to 30s. So it lost like 25%. So at that point, I should have sold, but I was just a rabbit in headlights.
You didn't.
Yeah, nah. I was a rabbit in headlights, and at that point, that's when the reckless attitude came out, and the kind of gambling attitude of chasing losses, where
Right.
like this will recover. When it gets back to 40 pence, I'll get out. 30 pence became 25 pence. Okay, when it gets back to 30, I'll get out. And I ended up selling at 10 pence.
No way.
So I turned roughly 150,000 into about 110.
Right. This is really interesting because this is even before you got into Forex, right? And
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah.
here, this is greed. If we're taking this like
Pure
Right.
and simple. So it's greed, recklessness, and zero discipline.
right. And this is actually funny because in Forex we need the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
So I'm actually interested in how you actually got from that kind of mentality and that kind of attitude into a really kind of Zen state where you had to be disciplined and actually not greedy and without emotions in the market.
So with that, I would say that the learnings itself didn't necessarily come from Forex. So what I did wrong in that particular company, when I was buying the shares and selling them and being greedy, I'd love to say I took a step back at that point and realized this is where I've gone wrong. and
Right.
corrected that personality fault at like 24 years old.
Right.
Didn't happen.
Mm.
It took me up until the age of 32, so another 8 years to fix that fault. So what happened from then? I was still making really good money
Right.
with my business,
Right.
so that
You
was
you
still
were
going
still
really
you were
well.
still running the business as the middleman, correct?
Yeah. So when these guys went bust, I found other buyers.
Okay.
The money wasn't as good, but it was still like really good money at
Right.
such a young age. So, and even though I'd lost all that money on the stock exchange,
Yeah.
I never felt the loss in my pocket, which sounds really crazy saying it,
Right.
because my life didn't change, because I was still having real good money come in. It
Right.
was like, well, yeah, that's gone, but we can make it back.
Right.
So it took for the whole business to completely fall apart, and for me to kind of um, have the ego slapped out of me a little bit.
Right.
It took that to happen
Right.
for me to learn the whole discipline side of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So it wasn't actually Forex. It was actually you going through this whole process. Wow. Interesting to
Yeah. So
understand.
like that attitude of being reckless,
Right.
because it sounds like, okay, this guy put 150 grand into some shares, made 500 and didn't sell, and it was greedy. That kind of reckless attitude was a blessing and a curse.
Right.
That's an example of where it worked against me, of being able to set the business up and rapidly grow it. That's an angle of where that attitude actually worked for me as well,
Right.
because just kind of being reckless with things
Right.
helped me grow to a real good size. But then when the business stopped, so the laws of data protection changed in the UK,
Right.
because we were telesales. So our business had been ringing maybe 600,000 people a month.
Oh wow.
We'd been making those phone calls. Then data protection laws changed in the UK, so we couldn't do that.
Right.
So my business completely stopped. It became redundant, but my lifestyle didn't change. I was still quite reckless,
Right.
and it took for all of that to stop, money to stop coming in, and to have a few losses again after that, to realize, shit, I've got to make a change now. Something drastic has got to change.
Right. A-
That's how the attitude and the discipline came about.
And was that change easy for you or
No, really hard,
right?
really hard, because it wasn't a,
It was
it was like a personality fix.
right. It wasn't like overnight.
No. I still struggle with it now,
Right.
but and it's something that I've constantly got to be on top of.
Right.
Whereas, like, I have a tendency to be mega reckless with things. Like when you saw the oil trade, which I
Yes.
took earlier this year, kind of back in April and May.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was that was a reckless trade. There was a footsie gap trade, which I
Right.
did as well, where we turned 10 grand into 60 grand
Right.
over a weekend. That was a reckless trade. So you see, sometimes it's a good thing, but then for me to trade consistently profitable
Right.
in Forex, you cannot be like, you can't be reckless.
Right.
That,
So
that's how I've had to kind of learn how to deal with this.
right. Yeah. I really agree with that. I think that many people coming to this game believe that they're gonna come in, they're gonna quickly flip some money, and they're gonna walk straight out.
Yeah. It's the way it's sold as well, though, isn't it? It's the way
Absolutely.
I got into this by seeing, I won't name names, but I got into Forex by seeing the adverts
The gurus.
on it. Yeah, the gurus, yeah, absolutely. By seeing their ads, seeing them with the cars, and I was still in that mindset of quick money, because when I'm looking at these guys, I was like, right, that's the life that I used to have.
Right.
So I can jump in on this. They're turning money over quickly. Things are going well. It looks real easy. It
Right.
was the signal service
Yeah.
that I was signing up for.
Yeah.
So I signed up to a signal service with a big account of money, because I still had some money left. So maybe like 10, 15 grand
Right.
put into a signal service. Surprise, surprise, blew that.
Right. Yeah. Signal services are huge traps.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're
Right.
terrible. But I was so naive
Yeah.
and still greedy.
Yeah.
Lost that. And then Corona kicked in
Right.
properly. So I traded bits and bobs and got a bit of a good strategy going. I'd been making some profit, but I'd never been like sitting down at a screen full-time trader. I was still running my sales businesses.
Right.
And it was when Corona happened, like February, March time
Yeah.
this year, that I then fully dedicated myself to Forex.
Right.
And that's when, so I've been trading profitably for probably 18 months
Right.
consistently,
Right.
but only now is it something where I'm like 8 hours a day in front of a screen trading a real tight system.
Right. There's two things I want to touch upon here. So Corona, I call it a blessing and a curse at the same time. So
Yes.
obviously a curse, we understand why, but a blessing in a sense that I know many people, including myself, it really kind of made me sit at home first of all due to the lockdowns, but also like sit down and really better myself in like things that I've really never bettered myself
100%.
in before,
Yeah.
right?
I 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that most people, I think that if a person didn't come out of this lockdown with a new skill, wasted these 4 or 5 months completely.
I I couldn't agree with you more. This sounds really disrespectful, so if anybody's kind of
Yeah.
listening to this who had friends or family that got ill or anything else, I'm genuinely sorry.
Yeah.
However, my personal experience of Corona was it's been a fork in the road for me.
Right.
Um, I've really enjoyed it, which sounds a terrible thing to say.
Yeah.
So I was working. So I've got two young children as well, but I was leaving the house at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I
Right.
was coming home at like 8 at night,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't really see the kids that often apart from on a weekend. And I was also kind of just chasing my tail a lot and repeating the same habits because it's something that worked for me previously.
Right.
And then when Corona came in
Hmm.
and the lockdowns happened, it let me take a step back
Yeah.
and really look at everything, be like, okay,
Yeah.
what's working? Why is it working? What isn't working? Why is
Absolutely.
that not working? What do you even want from life?
Yeah.
And it just let me reassess
Right.
a lot of things and make some real tough decisions. But also that time as well. When have you, like, you've never seen that before? You've never seen a period of time where you could step away from everything and everybody for
Yeah.
such a long period of time.
It's as if they put the whole life on pause
Yeah,
for a good and bad cause at the same time. Like,
yeah,
obviously, it's really bad for those who have lost their jobs and those who did become unemployed due to this. But on the other hand, it did give a lot of opportunity to put yourself together in every aspect. In any aspect you wanted to, you could have literally just sat down and really manifested that life and that break in life you kind of got.
yeah, of course. And even like people that have lost their jobs. So I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but in the UK, there's been a lot of people that have lost their jobs. But there's also been a huge amount of support and furlough money from the government. So
True.
people have had 80% of the wages since March. So
Right. How, how,
unless you really sat on your hands and were just watching TV all day,
yeah, that's what I'm
you
scared about.
yeah, like this is the best opportunity to turn um, turn chaos and a complete shit show
Yeah.
into something that betters yourself. And I honestly believe in 6 to 12 months' time, hopefully things with Corona have settled down, but I will look back in the future and I'll be, this was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah, I'm completely on the same page with you here. It's
As long as all my family's still healthy and all of that,
true,
obviously,
true.
as
Family
long
is
as
always first.
as long as people are still healthy, I guarantee this will be the best thing that's ever happened.
True. And yeah, sadly, many people don't really understand and value this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's their life, it's their choices, but the opportunity was here, right, for those who didn't get affected by it.
Yeah. So like the business I had was in like debt advice.
Okay.
So people in the UK that were in debt, so we weren't debt collecting, like taking money from them.
Right.
They would ring ourselves if they were struggling with debts, and we help put a solution together, and we'd be paid for that service by the law firm, for example, that would look after the client.
Right.
Now in the UK, all of the debts have been frozen until the end of October.
Okay.
So because people are like, okay, I don't have a debt problem, no one needs a solution. So our phone stopped ringing, but I still had a wife and 2 kids. I still had a mortgage to pay for. So it's like, well, I either sit here and sulk for months,
Yeah.
or I get my head down, start working, and we figure out what we're going to do.
Exactly. Yeah. You always have to make the best of what you have.
So like for me, the strategy we're doing now with the Forex, and I'm also doing, I'm trying a lot of price action on the 1 minute time frame as well.
Right.
So what I was doing, I'd get up at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I would work till 9 a.m. just studying.
Right.
Then I'd like help out with the house and the boys and whatever else. But it was a case of there's a few hours every day where you can just get up and grind.
Right. Yeah.
No one there, no distractions, and just turn this into an opportunity.
Yeah. Time for yourself. Absolutely with you here. I've been waking up at 5 as well since beginning of February, in fact.
And have you been doing it to help with your own trading as well, and to put the podcast together?
I mean, in fact, I had this plan that I was going to wake up at 5 since December 2019 because I had school. I go to university.
Okay.
And I had morning classes, and I had to travel for approximately 40 minutes from my house. So I had to wake up at 5 in order to first get my charts on point, and then, in fact, travel to my uni and then carry on with school. But when uni stopped and Corona came, I didn't really quit that habit. I still woke up at 5 in order to actually get more charts in and generate more ideas. And that's kind of how I came with the idea of the podcast, that if people don't know where to start, and right now especially we have a lot of advertisements on social media about trading, and let's be honest, it's total nonsense because they're just selling you a dream which you won't achieve unless you really hammer down and learning it seriously. I was like, I'm gonna actually create something for people out there, with this free time that I now have instead of university, to
That's really cool.
Right?
Yeah,
That
I
was the
completely
idea.
agree with that. Because, and you hit the nail on the head then. Since lockdown started, you must have seen this. The advertisements, the sponsored ads
Oh, yeah.
for Forex have gone through the roof.
Absolutely.
Like through the roof. And I genuinely believe there's a lot of good companies out there, but
Yeah.
there's not one advert which will deliver what it's saying it's going to deliver.
No.
The best thing is to be self-sufficient. And even if you do find a good signals provider, what happens if they just cash the chips in one day and they stop doing signals?
Yeah, then you won't be
You're
able
screwed.
to trade. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I cover in some of my previous podcasts, that it's really nice to have a signal service which is profitable. But yeah, like you said, if they do go AWOL, what are you going to do? How are you going to feed your family or feed yourself if you are reliant upon this?
You need to be self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
That's why I like trading. So when I was running the sales businesses before,
Right.
not to drag it back there, you were reliant upon other people in a chain for them to do their jobs, for you to be able to do your job.
Yeah.
It was like a chain of events, and if somebody in that chain dropped the ball, it impacted you.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you are completely self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
Like the retail traders are not a drop in the ocean, because of how the banks and everything and the institutional investors move the market.
Yeah.
So you are so self-sufficient on this that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I definitely agree there with you. I want to come back to the second point about your screen time that you said. You said 8 hours. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about your strat? Not too much in detail, but how does your strat work? Because I'm, for example, sorry, I'm a intraday trader. I don't like sitting too long on my hands or waiting for my trades for like weeks, but I also don't like scalping.
Yep.
What about you? What do you do? Because we know Dark Horse FX does offer a course, and for those who haven't never heard of it, definitely do. I will add all the links in the description, so do check them out. So I'm interested in what do you guys have and what's your strat and how is it optimized?
So our strategy, we have not reinvented the wheel. We
Okay.
haven't put together a formula that's completely bespoke to us. What we've done is we've traded various strategies previously, and
Right.
we've just kind of pulled out what worked from which ones, and
Right.
the bits that we didn't work, we've kind of just forgot about them.
Right.
So our strategy is so straightforward. It's break and retests, key
Okay.
levels, but you can only kind of get your head around it by doing the back testing, but like super clean levels as well.
Right.
Not just a bit of a bit of support and resistance, like a real clean level,
Right.
break and retest, with fibs and EMAs. So it's like three confluence setups,
Right.
only trading with the trend as well.
Okay. Interesting. Do you guys also by any chance touch upon supply demand?
No, there's so much about Forex, which I think I mentioned to you before, which I have no idea about.
Okay.
Absolutely no idea. And there's bits that I want to learn, like the price action stuff around the much lower time frames
Right.
and the structure, because that's more suited to my personality,
Right.
where things are happening quite quickly. The way we trade now, this is where the discipline has had to come in. At the start of July, I went 2 weeks without taking a trade because there was the setups just
I agree.
weren't there.
I agree. July was a really tough month. We've discussed this
Yeah.
with many people and with you as well that it was hard.
And then even when I found it, I found, so we go 2 weeks, there's no trades. Okay. We then take a trade, which I am sure was either like Aussie dollar US or Aussie dollar yen. And it was perfect. The trade was going absolutely fine. We are 10 minutes into the trade. Virus news gets dropped.
No way. The headline.
Headline gets dropped. Potential vaccine. Stop loss hit. It's like within,
Instant.
I mean like within 30 seconds to a minute.
Wow.
I blinked and I've looked at the chart and I'm like, what the hell is this? So that was one. Another trade which we did, 3 confluence setup, and this is on the hour time frame as well. So you're waiting quite a while
Right.
for these trades to kind of really present themselves, going absolutely fine.
Right.
Supreme Court in America ruling that they can look at Trump's tax returns, stop loss hit.
Right.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, technicals were definitely on the lower side in July.
Yeah, it was just raining news.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like absolutely raining news.
Yeah.
And we were just on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. But I do think that in those situations, like I hope for example, I made many notes on what happened and how the fundamentals kind of influenced the whole charts. I think that from that month, we took a lot away in a sense that next time we have a fundamental month, we can adapt to that to trade the headlines instead of pure technicals in a sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. For me, July was actually one of the first losing months that I've had. So I think I finished like -4, -5% in July.
Right.
But personally, I was really happy as well because the Tom from kind of 12 months ago,
Right.
after losing the virus trade or the Trump trade, I'd have jumped straight back in,
Right.
doubled the lot size. If I'm in for a buy originally, I'm taking a sell.
Yeah.
And do you know, just gamble traded and revenge traded?
Yeah, coming in for the revenge, yeah.
Yeah. And if it comes good, I'd tap myself on the back. I'd be like, yeah, like really good decision. But we know that that's not how it works.
No, far from. It's irrational decisions. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gambling. You might as well put everything on red.
You are gambling. I've said this like on Instagram loads of times. At least in a casino, you get a free drink.
Yeah, hey. True, I agree there.
There's nothing here. So I was happy to have been down 4 or 5%
Right.
and not have taken stupid gambling trades.
Right.
For me, that was a win.
Right, no, I mean, that is, if you learn something, you don't actually lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? An L is actually you learn instead of a loss. That's how I say it. But I have a question. So you had this negative month. I mean, my month wasn't really positive either. I journaled it. I went back, so August just started, we're 5 days in, but 2nd of August, I believe I sat down and I spent a couple of hours really recapping the whole month, news-wise, and I really back-tested the months on my pairs, technically as well as fundamental releases.
Yeah.
It helps me. It helps me because I really have my rational mind again. There's kind of a pause, as we talked about it, like we had the pause in life, but it puts a pause on the markets for me, and I can really kind of understand what went down. Do you journal? Do you kind of like track the things that went happened before? And
Yes, not probably to the extent that you've mentioned, but I use TradingView as the
right,
platform that I trade on.
right,
So every trade that we take, win, lose, break even, I'll do before screenshots, after screenshots, track how many confluences it had
right,
for the trades that went bad.
right.
Relook at why. Do you know, like some will
Yeah,
just go the wrong way.
yeah, of
You're not going to
course.
win everything.
Yeah,
But the fundamental stuff as well. And do you know what? I don't even put the I'm not that bothered about a loss due to news,
right.
because there's nothing that you could have done on the build up to that trade to have prevented that. Like today, for example, I mean like unplanned news
Unplanned
as
news.
well.
Yes, I was gonna add that.
Unplanned news. So like today, there was a really good setup on US dollar yen, um, and I didn't take it because I knew that kind of the yen speech was coming out at like 1:15 today.
Right,
Stayed away from it, but and then yeah, the trade was started going well, and then it would have stop lost almost instantaneously when the news started. So just being aware of things like that
absolutely.
is a big help. I'd say to anybody listening, you need to journal things.
Yeah,
Not just on trading, with everything, because otherwise you'll get to the end of the month, and how do you remember back to the start of the month of what you did right and what you did wrong?
I absolutely agree there.
You just think, oh, I've had a good month or I've had a bad month, but well, why? Because
Right,
there must have been other things, good and bad things, that happened within the month. How do you make sure that the month after
exactly. You can't track the
it
progress if you want the
yeah,
journaling,
yeah,
and that's the point. You need to track your progress in order to actually grow.
yeah. Like I stopped taking trades with Swiss franc
Okay,
as one of the currencies, because I found I was sat in the trades so much longer than I
right,
wanted to be. And
right,
also on the charts, I don't know if you've seen this, it can look like a huge break on the charts, but because it's the Swiss franc, it's actually only a few pips.
right.
And
I actually trade the pound franc,
so
so
you must know exactly what I'm on about there. Like
I know exactly what you're
they
on
look like
about.
huge breaks,
Yep.
and they're not. So I'd be taking setups on there, and it
Right.
was only really when I started hitting more break evens on the Swiss francs that I
Yep.
re-looked and started looking. I was like, they were never good breaks.
Right, I agree there. I had this is actually a learning curve I had yesterday because yesterday I had a buy setup on a daily, but I had a sell setup on the 4 hour, and that sounds stupid, right? That doesn't make sense. And in essence, what I learned from that, I had the trade break even. I realized that for pound franc, I would focus on the higher time frames, possibly due to less noise.
Okay.
I can see a lot of noise on the 4 hour chart, for example. There's, for me personally, too much noise to take into account. And if a trend line does get broken or it doesn't get broken, like I'd rather focus on the daily or the weekly and have proper setups or running for like, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 pips.
So
Then,
how long are you sat in your trades for then? If you trade in the daily and the weekly,
well, I
long.
only just thought of doing the daily and the weekly for the pound franc. From yesterday onwards, I've backtested a bit of it, so we'll see how that goes.
How did the back testing go?
I've had a strike rate of approximately 77%,
Nice.
so there is something to it. I kind of understand the dynamics, which is not all too bad. But again, backtesting is different than, you
Yeah,
know,
the hardest thing there. So I was saying like at the start of the call how last night I had a trade where I was in it for 7 or 8 hours and it only moved 15 pips,
right,
and it was real slow and I was constantly checking. If I was to start trading the
yeah,
daily and the weekly, that's just not my
no,
personality. I kind of know where my flaws will be on that. And you, for me, what I've found with the trading, to make it work, you have, and it's hard. It's so hard. Strip away all the emotion.
yeah, You need to be emotionless. You're
Not be
supposed.
looking at it, just
Yeah,
set it like it's a demo trade, like not
exactly,
even look at it.
exactly, right. Um, I want to ask you regarding character. So I've talked to this about this with other traders. What's your opinion on? You say that it's not your kind of personality in terms of like long trades.
Yep.
So you would say with your from your past, kind of the reckless behavior does kind of reflect in the fact that you are on the 1 minute looking for the price action techniques.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to learn at the minute. Yeah.
Right. And do you think that you enjoy that more than, for example, 1 hour or 4 hours? For example,
I'm definitely more active on it. It
okay,
would what my plan is to do 100 to 200 back tested trades on the 1 minute, journal that. My next step then would to be doing forward testing in live markets on the demo, again 100 or 200, and then on a really low account balance, so maybe like $100, $200, something like that,
right.
just so there is some money involved in it as well, and I want to see how that impacts me personally.
Yeah,
um, because for me, I know where my flaws are. I'm not saying it's the same as sending an alcoholic into a pub, but yeah, I need to make sure that if I'm trading down at the 1 minute, that I'm not thinking, right, let's roll the dice. It's almost like being in a casino. Because if that happens, it's not for me.
right.
Because then you'll just get into a boom or bust mentality.
But you are putting yourself into a condition where you're gonna teach yourself on how to like contain yourself and be more disciplined, which is also
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Like I think it would be something for me. Like I see people trading on the 1 minute, especially with purely no indicators, just candles,
Right,
and I understand it. So
right,
now the challenge for me, especially because with the strategy we teach on the hour, you have a lot of time on your hands. Like
right.
you'll be flicking between the charts, like on the hour when the candles open and close, and see where you're at.
Yeah,
So I want to do something productive in between that time.
right.
So it was more of a challenge. I was like, right, okay, how do I fare trading on this like ultra quick time frame compared to some of the people that I know?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. But how would you say, at what point do you think it's enough a time for on the charts, for example? Because we know if we're sitting on the 1 minute, we can literally be sitting for the whole day.
Yeah.
And that's also not good. You know, I had that problem in the beginning of my trading, and I sometimes still do that. I'll be sitting there for maybe, I don't know, half a day looking at charts, looking at the exact same thing that happened.
And just
And
convincing yourself the setup's there when there's not as well.
exactly, exactly. So for you, if you're sitting on the 1 minute, are you gonna have, or do you have a tight schedule of when you stop and when you start, or how does it work for you so you don't overtrade?
So the plan is, and we started this maybe 2 weeks ago,
Right.
only trade the London sessions.
Okay.
So we'll get, like we've got the office where we had the sales business, which has kind of died now due to Corona. We still had the office space.
Right.
So what I wanted to do was get a setup away from my house. I didn't want to be trading in home and then running the risk of kind of 24/7 the charts are there.
Right.
So I'll trade 7 till 2 in the office, and then turn off and step away.
Okay.
It
It
To
helps.
start with, it was difficult because I had TradingView on my phone still,
Right.
so I was still looking at charts and whatever else when I was away.
Right.
But I've now deleted TradingView off my phone, so I'm like, well, they're going to be my trading hours, and I will make that work.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I can tie this back into a book that I read called What I Learned Losing $1 Million. And he ties in the fact that he also spent too much kind of time, even when he had to give the time to family and such. He was
Yes.
looking at the charts, and the charts really honestly they drain you, right? Every single investment bank or really big players out there who did achieve a lot in forex can tell us that, you know, if you're spending too much time, it's going to drain you. So
Yeah, and it kind of impacts on you personally as well. The main reason why we decided to do the 7 till 2, well, there's two reasons. One, momentum in the London session and the volume is good.
well, except for
But
the beginning of August.
yeah, well, liquidity's just kind of gone to pot in all the sessions. Now, so I've got a 2-year-old as well. So I was putting him to bed on an evening, and I'm still looking at my phone for potential setups.
Right.
And then if trades go wrong or trades miss, like pendings missed by a few pips, and then at home with my family, and I'm kind of a little bit short and a little bit arsey. I'm like, do you know what? Yeah, I don't need this. I lasted 12 weeks in lockdown, managed to get through it without my wife killing me or divorcing me. Like, do you know what? Forget it. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just trade 7 till 2.
Exactly. No, I like that because yeah, it's a structured approach, and you're not really tossing things about. You have your
Yeah,
structured way.
I want to treat the trading and the course and the way that we look after the students, treat it like a business.
Yeah.
So instead of like a hobby, for example, or as a way to make money, simply treat it like a business with set working hours, money in, money out,
Right.
tracking everything.
Yeah.
Having that sort of discipline and structure to it
Yeah.
can only be a good thing.
Yeah. I think it'll lead you further.
Hopefully, yeah.
I reckon
hopefully.
I reckon it would. One more topic I'd like to cover. We're both co-founders of trading groups, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is actually the communication with your students or people who join it.
Yes.
Like for me, when people join, for example, our groups, I really like interacting with them. I like learning from them. I like the way I want to teach them what I know, but I'd also like to learn the things they can, for example, present to me.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of like develop this bond between yourself and your group. I think that's really essential in actually making a qualitative group instead of just a signal service kind of provider.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also have to like maintain your portfolio and also trade for yourself. So the questions here are like, how do you actually like learn a lot from your students, and do you interact a lot? And how do you actually manage the time giving it to students and to your own portfolio?
So with this, because our community as such has only really kicked off the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
But our groups, which you've probably seen when I've shared this stuff on my Instagram stories,
Yes.
our groups are so interactive.
Right.
So anytime somebody makes a purchase of our course, I'm personally getting in touch with them,
Right.
thanking them for the support, asking them what they want to learn, saying, look, go through the content, do the back testing, any questions that you've got. So we sell the course, but it's not a monthly subscription service.
Right.
So we could have an attitude of, right, okay, people have bought the course, we'll leave them to it. What we're trying to do with our programs is we genuinely want to help people.
Right.
Like, we want to try and get people funded and pass FTMO, because you'll know this. So you make 10%, but all you've got is $1,000, for example. You're making $100 that month.
Right.
So for you to make any real difference to your life, you either need to be risking a lot more or have more capital to trade with.
Yeah.
So for me, FTMO is by far the best product in the market and best service right now to allow people access to those funds. So I genuinely want to help as many of our guys as possible pass FTMO. Like, my attitude, and I've said this to everybody in the groups, is pass FTMO.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid with the money. When you start doing well, put the money to one side, because if anything should happen to FTMO in the future, you need to make sure that your life doesn't go back to what it is now.
Exactly.
You need to stay accustomed to that lifestyle, and the only way to do that is be smart with your money and put it to one side, so you've still got a pot to trade with.
Exactly.
But that's also like the interaction with students. As much as I genuinely do enjoy it as well, and I get a real buzz from the guys sending their results in, because it shows that what me and Sam are teaching is working, and we've managed to simplify it enough that it makes sense to people. There's a trade-off with that, which is my own personal trading. Yesterday, for example, we've got now 100 to 110 students, give or take, in our group. And at any one time, you've maybe got 40, 50 of them active. For 3 hours yesterday, when I should have been trading, I was replying to messages,
Right.
which is the downside to it. And it's just a balancing act.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's
Just
just,
like anything in life.
yeah, mate, of course.
Right.
Of course it is, because what you don't want to do is people part with. So our course is £100,
Okay.
which is kind of on the cheaper side of some of the courses out there. But in the same breath, we've got quite a small following, so
Right.
we can't be charging silly money. But £100 is still £100. You don't want people to part with their kind of hard-earned money, and they get a course and absolutely no support or no interaction from the two guys that did it. I feel me and Sam need to be involved with our community, otherwise it stops being a community.
Yeah, I really respect that because, yeah, kind of, it is the same kind of virtue we're going through in our group. Because, for example, from my experience, when I traded like 2 years ago, I fell into the pitfall of there was this one trader on Instagram, and he was promising to teach a lot of like things. I'm not going to call any names, obviously. And he charged me approximately £500,000, no, dollars. So
Yep.
at the time, right, I was 17, I believe, or I just turned 18, and $500,000 for a 18-year-old. I didn't have a job. I was still in school. It was a lot of money,
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
and it still is. Yeah, absolutely. And so I joined the group. I mean, I first found a job to pay for that course, and once I got the job, I wired him the money, and I think he taught me for approximately 2 weeks, and then he dipped. And that was probably the hardest lesson I learned, in the sense that you have to rely on yourself and really genuine people, and don't trust people with big amounts of money unless you can really see that they're genuine, in a sense,
100%.
right? Because
And in this market as well, there's so much bullshit.
yeah, it is.
This was one of the reasons that me and Sam very nearly didn't do a course or a community, because and you must have the same problem. How do you cut through all the noise and all the crap and not be associated with the scammers?
It's just part of it.
Yeah,
It really is.
that's the kind of stuff you've got to deal with. So constantly,
Yeah.
we're having to put our reviews out there
Right.
just to let people know, look, we are different to the other guys. But
Yeah.
everyone says that. All the scammers say that.
Yeah, it's true, and I find it really I find it a real pity, because right now Forex, it's not an oversaturated kind of market, but it's like it has a name of like, oh yeah, it's a scam business.
100%. Yeah.
I really that's a huge pity, because it's really not. Well, it is if you are a commissionary trying to scam people to place their pendings, and then you can drive a nice Lambo which you lease for 3,000 a month, sure. But that's not what real foreign exchange trading is, and I really understand why so many of the good traders are leaving Instagram right now.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like there was Seb
Yeah,
from FX Cartel,
yeah,
who by far one of the best
absolutely.
companies that I've come across. He's dipped out
Yeah,
from Instagram because he's just sick of the bullshit.
I totally understand, right? He's made a name for himself. He's achieved the things he wanted in this game, you know. So why bother with all the
Why
bullshit
bother
and the
with all the
noise?
crap? My following's so small. We've got like sub 1,000, but I'll still get messages saying that what we do is bullshit and we're ripping people off, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
He had like 20,000-30,000 people, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So if he had like 20-30 times the messages I had, probably more.
Right.
You don't need to deal with that.
But that's the funny part, right? He had 20 or 30,000 followers, but those gurus out there, they be having like 500,000, and that's fucked up.
Yeah, and again, naming no names, I've dropped him messages on my Instagram quite a few times. It's just, they're full of shit.
Oh,
like the guys that charge people $500, $600, $1,000 for a course, but they can't
And they're rebranding
pass
baby
FTMO and
pips.
get 10%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just rebranding free content. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
And I think it only annoys me because I got burnt by them myself, so I'm just like a bitter ex now.
I mean, I wouldn't say I am too bitter, but of course I'm bitter. Yeah, it just ruins it. It ruins it for those who actually want to learn.
Yeah.
So
Now it's cool though, because the way I saw it with like, so our regulator in the UK, the FCA,
Right.
they I don't know whether people were getting ripped off or they just saw there was so many Forex ads when
Oh yeah.
lockdown started. The FCA did a big sweep
Yeah, I
of
heard about
social
it.
media,
I
big
heard
sweep,
about it.
and just took so many of the scammers out
Yeah.
of the market.
Yeah.
That a
Some of
lot of
them
the
are in
signal
jails.
providers,
Some of them are in jail, I suppose.
hopefully,
Right.
because there's some. So like here's the thing with that: the signals providers, it's not great that they're just kind of rebranding other people's signals and selling it for maybe £50 a month.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world. You're not really. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
But you're not really ripping people off. If they want to be greedy and gamble their own money, that's kind of on them.
Right.
But then there's some companies, and there was someone in the UK that did it for a lot of money as well. We were using the copy traders,
Oh yeah.
where it was like, okay, you deposit your money with me,
Yeah.
I will trade your money, and they were just taking all the money out of the account.
Yeah, you'll
Those
never
guys
see
go
the
in jail.
money.
That's just fraud.
Yeah, absolutely. But
That's just fraud.
also what, for example, exchanges or brokers offer now are IB programs. Is where you, for example, have a link, an affiliate link, and you send it out to your members or whatever,
Yeah.
and you get like I don't remember how much you get, but I think it was like $7 a lot traded.
Yeah, we got offered that as by a few brokers
Right.
when we started this. So it was like we could get $300
Yeah.
per person which signed up to our affiliate link once they had traded 2 lots.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
2 lots on a small balance, like Jesus Christ. And we stayed
That's
away
probably
like,
blown account.
yeah, of course. Well, that's why it's sold wrong to people. That's why people think that they'll turn $100 into $1,000
Yeah.
in a week, because you probably could if you were kind of gambling on the high lots,
Right.
but you've got more chance of blowing that account in half an hour.
I mean, yeah, but and that's their point. They want you to over leverage in order for them to
Get
get
the
their money.
commissions.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, no, it's
We got offered that. We looked at it, said, nah. I genuinely will like, people will pay us for the course.
right,
We'll help them with the content and the support.
right.
I don't want any kind of financial incentive for these guys to
Yeah.
make a trade
Yeah.
at all. I think it tarnishes the relationship and the product that you're offering.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, no, that's nice that we're on the same page here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered a lot of interesting topics. It was really interesting to hear your story and your advice and what your opinions are. To round things off, would you have anything else you'd like to add or any tips for people out there starting or?
My tips, genuinely, to anybody who is new and that's come across this podcast, is don't believe half of the things which you see online and social media.
Right.
The best thing that you can do is get a course, not necessarily our course, just any course, even if it's free YouTube content, and figure out how to trade.
Right.
Learn the skill yourself. Learn how to be self-sufficient. Then just do back testing, and then just trade on demo accounts. There's no reason to start trading with live money whilst you figure things out.
Do you reckon? For me personally, I have a really biased opinion towards demos. I think.
Go on.
Right. So I think that on a demo, you can have a $10,000 or $1,000, whatever.
Yep.
And you trading it, cool, your strat might work. Like, I'm just talking from experience, that's why I have this opinion. And you trade it and it's going super well, but as soon as you step in with your own $1,000 or $10,000, you're literally, you're gonna have fear, because when people say, like I mentioned many times, I'm gonna treat this demo like a real account, you will never, because your brain.
100%. Do you remember when we were chatting about what I wanted to do on the 1 minute? And I
Right.
said that once I'd done the demo testing, I would do it with like $100 to
Exactly.
$200.
Yeah.
So demos are a double-edged sword. So I completely agree with you there. But what they do allow you to do is test the strategy to see whether ignore the emotions and anything like that. It lets you test the strategy to see whether that works in the markets.
Right.
But as you will know the same as me, most strategies you can probably get to work. The hardest bit to figure out is the emotional element, and you don't get that from demo or back testing.
Yeah, yeah, because a
You only get
strategy,
that
yeah,
when you roll the dice and put some real money in
yeah,
and learn how to deal with your own emotions.
yeah, I agree there, because the strategy itself could be mechanical. You have your checklist, you have the things you need to check off, but at the end of the day, can you check off the checklist that you're calm during a trade and that you're not looking at your screen if your money's going away?
Yeah, and that's why as well, like, not to kind of bang on about it again, with back testing, I will back test 100 trades and then I'll go straight into a live market, because
Yeah,
when you're clicking next, you're
yeah,
not sitting there and waiting for a candle to develop.
yeah,
You don't have the apprehension or any kind of anxiety as to where it's going. You just click, 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 click. Okay, take profit, stop loss, whatever. Whereas
yeah,
when you sat waiting for a candle to actually develop, nothing has changed with the strategy or the trade or the setup. It's your
exactly.
own emotions that you've got to deal with there, which for me is the hardest bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I'm the same, because this was the biggest and the hardest obstacle for me to overcome, and my whole team knows it. I was that kid who had 3 different notebooks for backtesting, and I backtested. I think I was backtesting in real time, so 6 months from August 2019 till December 2019. I was backtesting the strategy on 4 different pairs, and my strike rate was approximately 85 or 90% towards the end, and it was amazing. I felt great. But when I realized I'm not really making money, and I put myself into the real market, it was as if I just kind of prestiged in Call of Duty and just started from level 1.
Yes.
Like, I knew what I was doing, but as soon as I got into a live trade, I didn't.
It's a different ballgame.
Yeah,
There's nothing that
yeah,
can train you, get you ready, prepare you for the emotional
yeah,
element. And I obviously, some people fully master that. It's a different, for me, that's something that I think I'll constantly be working on.
yeah,
I know it's one of my flaws, so
yeah.
you've just got to be aware of it and keep it in check. Um,
Yeah, what I tell people on that note is that don't internalize the market. Don't, for example, you have a good trade and you're all happy and you're all positive and you walk around your home and you're going to the city and you're so happy that you got 1 TP, remove that. And the same goes for SLs. You make one, you hit a stop loss and then you're all sulky the whole day.
yeah,
Don't do that. Don't internalize the things that are happening on your chart with your life, because it has nothing to do, like, in that sense with it, right? So I say to people, is like, don't worry about it. Even you win, you lose, don't worry about it. Do it, carry on, and just kind of keep your straight face and going on. It's not the problem that we need to have emotions. We're people, we're humans, that's normal. But the problem is letting the emotionalism towards the market kind of affect us. So that's my take on it.
easier said than done as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, because I'm still working on. Everybody's working
Yeah,
on it.
everyone's
No
working
one,
on it.
yeah,
Of course they
everyone,
are.
yeah. So yeah, that's that. On that note, I want to thank
Okay.
you once again for joining.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been good fun. I'm more than
Yeah,
happy to come back on at any time in the future as well.
yeah, guys. So thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned. There's more to come. And on this note, take care and bye bye.